Yeah.
Hi, I'm Pat. Torpey with a T.
Do that again, because I moved.
Hi, I'm Pat. Torpey with a T. I said, hi, I'm Pat. T.
Got it.
That's T. I got spelled in trouble. This is Eric Martin, and I'm high. No, Green-Tinted Sixties mine.
It's tough to get serious.
I know. This is Eric Martin, and I am a soul builder for Mr. Big.
Howdy. I'm Paul Gilbert. I play the guitar for Mr. Big. Hi, my name's Billy Sheehan, and it's Sheehan, not Sheehan. Because if it was Sheehan, then Johnny Carson's partner would be Ed McMahon. I made the first phone call to Eric, and we decided that we needed an amazing guitarist, and so I called Paul, and then we needed an amazing drummer too, so I called Pat.
Geez, I can't believe Billy Sheehan's on the other end of my phone. This is unbelievable, because the guy, is a huge influence on me.
My career wasn't going well, and I needed somebody to, like Billy, to, lend me a hand.
When Billy mentioned that Eric was interested, I just thought, this is great, because I had heard Eric before and thought he was amazing. And the second we all heard Pat, we knew he was the guy.
Pat and I did the backing vocals that were later sampled and put on the David Lee Roth tour behind him for Skyscraper. So I called Pat and said, I got some pretty happening guys, and the future looks bright. Come on over, and we'll see what happens.
As far as musicians, the guys at Mr. Big, I couldn't ask for better guys to play with. I mean, they're fantastic.
I hooked up with the right people. It was kismet.
Around each other, I know this is how it is for me. Around each other, I tend to have kind of a instinctive restraint at the right points and an instinctive overdrive at the other points because of the caliber of players I'm around. I actually like to lay back and listen to Paul go or groove behind Eric because I like the way they play, and I love to just lock into Pat and blast along with them. When we built this band, we put it together for Alive. Before Eric and I actually decided to really work together, I came up to San Francisco and I saw him play a club gig, and I got up and jammed with them. And I'd seen Paul play a million times, and Pat also. We knew we could all really do what we do live.
Do you strut? Do you like to strut? No. Do you like to shake? Do you like to dance? All right, can't do that. The strut is Merciles.
we were compared, when we first got together, we were compared to bands like Free, Led Zeppelin, Spooky Tooth, in that kind of vein. And we were going nuts trying to find a name.
The first time I heard the name Mr. Big, Pat goes, you know, I found it from a Free song.
We never intended it to be, we're Mr. Big Bad. That was never the intent. The intent was to take it from our roots, which was the Free album. We all were very aware of Paul Rodgers and Free, and if anything, we meant more tongue-in-cheek, like Mr. Big, yeah, right, sure.
God, you know, it reminds me of Rocky and Bullwinkle, where Boris and Natasha's fearless leader was Mr. Big, and that's the first thing that came to my mind, because I sit in front of the damn TV set constantly and watch cartoons.
It's easy to spell.
It's easy to chant.
You can have, it's very easy to chant, Mr. Big. Also, you can have just about any accent and pronounce it.
It also translates well. Signor Grande, Herr Grossen.
Mr. Large.
Looks good on a t-shirt.
It just makes me feel like Mr. Importante, you know? You know what I'm saying? And I dig it. I mean, it's a perfect name. It's a perfect name for Billy, you know? I don't know if it's, you know. But I'm starting to fit in those shoes, those Mr. Big shoes now.
Get enough. I'm addicted to that rush. Look around, I stop and stare. Got to get a taste. Pretty women everywhere. We ain't got time to waste. Looking for a little fine to fit into my plans. On the town, I'll hunt you down. I'm walking like a man. Deep inside, something stops inside my mind. When I'm really coming, ain't no sense in running. I'm addicted to that rush. Every time we touch, never get enough. Woman, I'm addicted to that rush. Every time we touch, never get enough. I'm addicted to that rush. Ain't no
last time a lot of different people came to see our shows. We had guitar shredders and metalheads and lots of girls. Children of all ages. Children of all ages.
Without losing anybody or doing anything too weird or terrible, we try to do stuff that might be, a little bit different or interesting.
We're going to grow as a band, as individuals, players, the way we work together, the way we write songs.
We don't want to do the stock, generic, blue label, rice pudding music.
I think Billy definitely has the most experience, so he's a good leader to follow. But so we take turns being Mr. Big,
I'm so happy! Billy Sheehan on the bass
I came from Buffalo, New York, which is where I grew up and started my first bands and my first playing. I played there for many years. I played in a group called Talus, which was together for a long, long time. We did a lot of gigs on the East Coast where we were quite well known several years back. And we eventually did a tour with opening up for Van Halen in 1980. That's how I met the guys in Van Halen, and eventually was in 1985 asked to join with Dave Roth and start a band with him. That went on for several years. We did 2 records, Eat 'Em and Smile and Skyscraper. I did the Eat 'Em and Smile tour, but I left right after the Skyscraper album and decided to start a band again, similar to how I had it in Talus many years ago in the early days, and that became Mr. Big. my biggest influence initially was seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. The other big influence that I think it really threw me heavily, well, the first concert I ever saw in my life was Jimi Hendrix.
The Beatles are really what inspired me to, start off. And from that, I got into heavier, more guitar type stuff like Led Zeppelin, Ted Nugent, Aerosmith. Then when Van Halen came out, that was real influential.
Got into drumming because I saw a guy playing drums in a polka band at a family picnic when I was about 8 years old. And I was mesmerized at just the whole movement of it. I was able to sit behind him and look down at the kit, and I was just smitten by the whole thing. And I went to my mother and I said, "Mom, I want to play drums." And she thought, "Yeah, sure you do." And well, I bugged her for 3 years and she finally realized I wasn't going to give it up. Growing up in Phoenix, there's a lot of country music, there's a lot of rock. It's a morass of, let me get out the dictionary and think of a better word to use. There's a lot of it. I listen to a lot of older stuff that I kind of grew up, the Led Zeppelin, Beatles. I'm a very big Tony Williams fan as far as the jazz stuff. Tony Williams is a big inspiration to me.
Placido Martin. I grew up in as an Army brat, so I traveled around quite a bit, and I think the majority of GIs on the post were black, and they listened to quite a lot of R&B. There is superstition. A lot of Temptations and Jackie Wilson and Marvin Gaye, and that's how I got kind of hooked on it. I got full moon fever, a black cat cut across my back, put a spell on me, mademoiselle. I want somebody to love me bad. I want somebody to love me bad. Dig deep in mojo, bad luck run through my veins. Cook up some bottom medicine, drive this curse away. To draw this curse away, yeah, yeah, yeah. A touch of sweet and nasty, a blind man couldn't miss. Creole sister, baby can't resist her when she's soft against your lips. Voodoo kiss, kiss me on lips. Can heaven be like this? Voodoo kiss.
My first road gig, this is hilarious. I was in the backup band for the comedian Rip Tape. And we would have to vamp on Happy Days I Hear Again, literally for 25 minutes. I mean, that's it. 25 minutes, I'd be like, God.
In 1983, I started out on Elektra Records, and it was with a band kind of around me, but it was with my name. It was called Eric Martin Band. And I toured with ZZ Top, and I'm from San Francisco, so most of the bands that would come in from LA or anywhere, any national act, England, whatever it would be, I'd open to them.
I played with a group called UFO for a short time. I did some work with a Canadian guy by the name of Kim Mitchell in a band called Max Webster. Worked with Michael Schenker for a bit.
I worked with Mike and the Mechanics, Benny King, Bob Geldof, Melissa Manchester, Roger Daltrey. Then I did a Belinda Carlisle tour. On her first solo tour, we opened for Robert Palmer. Then I did a Robert Plant tour in '88 on his Now and Zen tour. His drummer broke his wrist mid-tour, and I was called, and I went in and took his place. It was an honor, and one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me.
I just got in a lot of bands and played a million copy tunes, started writing my own stuff, moved out to California, formed Racer X, quit Racer X, joined Mr. Big. Here we are now.
So, hey, next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire.
and your little boy.
I was at the Rainbow Bar and Grill on Sunset Boulevard, which is a very famous bar, and that much of the famous debauchery, which is now somewhat standard on the road, began its roots in the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I was there one night and I had cocktail napkins that the waitress was handing me, and I borrowed her pen, and I'd watch the circus, this parade of people go by and just like make my notes on life and the world. And one aspect of it I thought was interesting is that so the different relationships that I saw and the different relationships I've been in with women, and that sometimes you feel like they're dead, and you say, you know, don't hang out with musicians, you know, watch those bass players and look out for those guys, you know. And you know, and then the brother, you know, where their buddies, the lovers, kind of self-explanatory, I guess, and a little boy part where sometimes, you know, you see somebody that's needs their girlfriend to run their lives for them or whatever. And when I wrote the title down and showed it to the waitress, who's a good friend of mine, she goes, "Boy, is that true?" You know, like that. That happens all the time, you know. So in the song also, we wanted to include something amazing in that Paul and I do the first known recording of the harmony electric guitar and bass drill solo.
One night I got the drill a little too close to my hair.
So we got two songs. We got A Little Too Close and The Drill's Too Close. I mean, a little too little.
You never go back to Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, it was in Atlanta.
Without cracking a smile. 10 roadies came out with flashlights and illuminated my head brighter than the stage lighting, and finally ended up getting it out while Billy's like doing an impromptu bass solo on stage. But it was great. You know, it was something I'm sure Spinal Tap wishes they had thought of that.
We are the Rodney Dangerfields of rock and roll.
I'll tell you. Very tough crowd out there.
Spontaneous applause erupts.
Yo.
Eruption.
Please, can we have a hot towel to clean up this eruption?
Cut. Show business is my life.
Well, I love the first record. That's one of my favorite records I've ever played on in my whole life. I've done a bunch of records, and that stayed in my car stereo for months. And I've listened to it. I know every note of it in my sleep practically. But I think this record is different, and I think it tops the first record. Hopefully it does.
The new album is more diverse. It shows what we're about better, because we know better what we're about. We've been together longer. We've done tours now. We've done everything that bands do, so it is the glue that binds us together and makes us a band, as opposed to four individuals who got together and made some music. Now it's a band making music.
I was huffing and puffing, first record Relax, and there was a lot of riff rock, you know? There was more chops than a butcher shop on that record. And I think this record is way more mature in songwriting.
This album I've really expressed my compositions more than I feel I ever have. This is the first time I've ever written vocal melodies or lyrics to a large extent.
The three guys, the three caballeros, the three musketeers, they go in and write a bunch of ideas, and then Paul's the designated guy to make the tapes. They send the tape up to me, and I get to Martinize it, and then I send it back down, you know, or up, or wherever the hell they are. But and we continue to do this until I remember last year we wrote a song called Merciles, and they didn't even know the title of the song. We get in a rehearsal studio and I go, okay, you know that song that has a little kind of Jackson 5, stop the love you say me be your own. Well, now it's called Merciles, whoa, and everybody's going, you know, I mean, there's a connection there.
The one thing you can't do is teach aesthetics or art or feel or rock and roll, if you will, which is probably a piece of all that. You can't teach it. You can't. There's no rules. It's basically a spiritual thing. And once you codify it and put it in rules, you've now brought it out of the realms of spiritual into the physical. If I can get that carried away on it, and it's no longer art anymore. It's maybe science. Who knows? But it's not art.
A lot of it is just focusing on on melodies and rhythms as opposed to arrangements and glitz.
When we're songwriting, we kind of let nature take its course and just let what happens. And when we come up with something that appeals to us, we'll take that.
That was the cool thing about this new album, is that it was like anything goes.
The rapport that we've gained by going on the road, when you go on the road, I mean, it's kind of a sink or swim situation because you either end up breaking up or you get tighter. And if anything, we've gotten tighter. We know each other so much better, and we're such a better band. And I'm thriving on the dues paying because we've been through a lot now. So it's like we're just building on that foundation of love and understanding.
Being on the road is really like a paid vacation. That was an original quote by one gentleman, which has been stolen by every other band, but it's very, very true.
It's a rolling summer camp.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
I found the hardest thing is you got to really trust your bus driver. Because every time you feel yourself going around a curve, you think, is he asleep and going off the side of a cliff? Or is he just making a little turn?
If there's any girls around, I'm like Henry Kissinger, and I got to negotiate and see if they want to come back and hang out. I'll do respects, no problem. And so there's this girl in Sacramento. Her name was Melody. I always remember that. Don't give her last name, I do remember that. And she was an exotic dancer, and she had to actually order her breast implants special. I swear to God.
Phil, come on, tell us what really happened.
And they were like this big. They were so big. She had a little tiny little button. She was a really nice girl, really nice. And so the guys in Rush were outside of our tour bus, and the girl didn't know that you can see in, but you can't see out. And I told her and her friend, I said, the guys in Rush are here. This is my standard kind of, and they've been working hard, and there's no girls on the road, and they really freak out if you, come on, let's flash them or something like that. Okay, great, it'll be hilarious. So we were laughing, drinking beer, stuff, totally harmless, And she didn't know, and I didn't know, there was about 40 guys watching outside the bus. So they took the toms up and jumped around these. They were unbelievable. And she didn't know how many guys were out there until all of a sudden we started hearing the cheering. It was like, so we go, how many guys are out there? And then the bus is rocking back and forth. And then all the way to, then the bus was rocking back and forth again later, but that's another story.
I played a lot of piano while we were doing stuff I wasn't needed for. So I think when I was able to play the first couple bars of Bach's Prelude in D minor,
which he does,
was a pretty rewarding experience,
amazing.
Being that I couldn't do anything beyond chopsticks about 3 months ago.
Which kind of blows me away because I've been playing piano for 5 years, and and then we go out and watch Paul out there, doing his going like this.
I actually owe it all to Eric though, because from watching Eric, I found out that when playing piano, you use thumbs. And I never knew that. And I was watching Eric play, and he's like doing these cool things with his thumbs.
Too,
yeah. No wonder I never got a ride.
Hey,
totally unrehearsed.
Sometimes you just gotta break the rules.
There's a lot of love in this room.
I can feel it. I can feel it.
Paul's a genius.
My wontons really do rule. The wontons and spicy peanut sauce have impressed everyone who's tried them.
Pablo Gilberto! Yeah!
first guitar I had, a friend of my parents gave me this Stella acoustic guitar that I started taking lessons on. I was like 6 years old, and it was the Mel Bay guitar method, which immediately frustrated me beyond the point of wanting to play guitar ever again. So I became a drummer, and it was the Haskell-Haar drum method, which was equally frustrating. So I just sort of took a break for a couple of years and then started playing by ear, and that worked real well for a while, although I had like the worst technique of all time, so I started taking lessons again, but by a guy who was a little bit hipper. Got a lot more guitarish, and so listening to like Gary Moore, Yngwie Malmsteen, Alan Holdsworth, people like that. Frank Marino is amazing. Played in a band called Mahogany Rush that I first saw on a telecast, a big concert called California Jam 2. It was great. All my favorite bands were on it. They had like Aerosmith, Heart, Ted Nugent, and a lot of other people. And Frank Marino did a couple songs. And I was recording it all and watching it on TV, and I thought, man, this guy is great. He was just unbelievable. Did a really amazing version of Johnny B. Good. So I went out and bought his live record. I got that the same day as I got the first Van Halen record. So I should have marked it on my calendar and celebrated every year, because that was like a life-changing experience hearing those two records. Van Halen 1 and live Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush record are just amazing guitar records.
Billy yesterday too. We went gold in Japan, which is
Yeah,
very
I
happy.
know that. It's incredible. So we are gold. Good God.
Good God, Gert.
Good gold.
Good goal.
Japan was amazing. We get these letters backstage. The kids would be out in front and they'd like give our crew guys or somebody a stack of letters like this. And you'd open up these letters that are on the finest silk embossed envelopes with all lined in gold and silver, and open up this incredible parchment paper. And they had drawn artistic renderings of the guys in the band that were flawless, perfect, like amazing photos of us and, that they would copy and draw on artwork and all, calligraphy, letters to us saying how much they loved it, and just the most endearing, touching.
We couldn't leave the hotel. We'd try to go out and just walk around and look at stuff, and it was impossible to leave because it was like Beatlemania. These fans would be running after us.
There's triple platinum acts that just can't sell out over there.
English being a second language, when I hear your play, it make me cry, emotion from heart. I just like so amazing. They're really very sincere.
It was just too cool. I can't wait to go back. And when we were mixing down this last record, I kept thinking, I can't wait to listen in Japan. They're gonna die when they hear this.
Searching for the reason why we went wrong. Where is our yesterday? You and I could use it right now. But if this is goodbye, just take my heart when you go. I don't have the need for it. I know
Here's the Yamaha 6-string. I use this on Just Take My Heart. It sounds actually like a big, fat, huge grand piano. Very fine instrument, and it threw me off a little bit when I first got it because it's got all these extra notes on it. I mean, it's just got a million notes in there. I don't even know where to go sometimes, but after about a couple hours of warming up on it, it started to make sense to me. So I really like playing it on the record. For me, practically, I don't know if this would, I'd have to adapt to this quite a bit to actually use it live. I mean, to actually get out there and use it as a workhorse. Plus, it's very big. A lot of people get afraid of that wide spacing, but it's more the position of your arm than how big your hand is. You see how my fingers can go all the way around if I just move my arm.
I love guitars. I've got zillions of them because they're so cool.
I did the record with this bass. Yeah, this and that 6-string. It's red. It definitely has attitude. But it just feels good. I played it a lot, and you kind of adapt to it, and it feels right, you know. Who knows? It's some abstract thing that really makes a bass feel one way or the other. I've tried like different necks and bodies and finishes, and you never know what it is. Some basses just work and some don't. You know?
I only go for the weird guitars. I mean, you know, most collectors have like the old late 50s Les Pauls and early 60s Strats. You know, they're worth a lot of money. I don't go for that. I like the ones like, I just bought this guitar that it's the same model and brand that Keith Partridge used to play in the Partridge Family. You know, so that's the one I got. You know, $185. You know, to other people it's not worth much. To me, it's priceless.
Yeah, I take all the shine off it. I get like very fine sandpaper and I go over the whole thing to make sure it's not too slippery, which kind of mimics having worn it for 10 years. And I have to put all the wear spots in it that are on my normal bass. Like normally my finger wears a hole here. So if it's a new bass, I gotta wear a hole there or it'll cut a hole in my finger. So I gotta wear that down.
Even if a drummer isn't, say, as good as you are, or someone who's even just a beginner, you can find out something from him. You can learn something from him. I've never seen a drummer that every drummer has something that they do that you think, wow, I never thought of that. I mean, it always happens. It happens to me a million times.
I didn't realize this when I first tried out the fringe on the guitar, but there is an advantage to it. I mean, most people see it and go, how do you play with the fringe on there? It must get in your way, you know, and it's actually not that bad. And it keeps your hands dry. So, you know, when you're sweating under the hot stage lighting, you know, your hands are nice and dry so they don't slip over the strings. You still got control. Wind Me Up. That was sort of the video debut of the fringe guitar. I didn't have the beads on it yet, but had some fringe in that one.
They ought to be alive again, to lead 'em
the scene of making the video for Green-Tinted 60s Mine. So if you hear hammers and, you know, big gridiron things smashing down, you know, I think somebody's doing their job, you know.
I love this country.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
And
Angela's not
are we
here.
rolling here?
I don't know.
Paul wrote this song, lyrics and music all by himself, which I thought was pretty cool. He's an interesting writer in that he's pretty new at it, so he doesn't have these pre-formed, predetermined considerations about how things must be. It's just kind of like out of the mouths of babes. And so he came up with a song that kind of captured the idea of looking at the 60s from today's point of view.
What if Elvis was alive? You know, what if Janis Joplin was alive? You know, where would she be living, and how would she be hiding so no one would know that she, was hanging out still? And you know, what sort of life would she be leading? You know, she'd have to sort of remain trapped in the 60s.
A guy that everybody thinks is like this big, you know, speed metal guitar player guy has got a real emotion in this song.
She just woke up, but
the essence of Mr. Big, the ambrosia of Mr. Big.
For me, I've got a theory that the more actual physical energy you put into your instrument, the more fun it is.
Eric said rhythm and bombs. I always like that. You know, it's kind of like with Eric's blues and vocals and because he's got that nice smoky raspiness to his voice, and we're up there bashing around. I mean, we just want to be one of those kind of bands that go down in history.
I got the full moon fever. A black cat cut across my path.
There isn't a thing that I own or have that I didn't get from somebody buying a ticket or a record or a T-shirt at a show, and I'm real thankful for that.
We're not a political band by any means, you know. Some bands are good for them. We just aren't, you know. Hopefully when they come to our show, all the troubles and strife of the world and their personal lives will be left, checked at the door, and they'll be coming in there to have fun with us, you know. And so when they leave, then they have to pick up all their troubles again and go back home. Yeah. But just for while they're with us, to just kind of forget them and abandon them and join us and be with us on stage, you know, and be one with the band, you know. But that's really true, you know.
Lean into it.
And lean into it, yeah.
When we play, our main purpose before we walk out on that stage, when you don't see us, when we're in the back, the thing that's going through our minds is to make sure you get what you came there for, you know, and that's very, very important to us, and we really want to slam that integrity home on ourselves, and hopefully a couple other bands that you know may be missing that will pick up on that, and you know our purpose is to try to, when we leave, things are better than what we got there. So that's kind of what we're here for. So hopefully we'll accomplish that.
Well, the message I would like to give to Mr. Big fans is when you're in the tub, do not use a hairdryer. Because, I mean, there's going to be some sparks flying.
Hold on, little girl, show me what he's done to you. Stand up, little girl, a broken heart can't be that bad. When it's through, it's through. Fake the twist of both of you. So come on, baby, come on over. Let me be the one to show you. I'm the one who wants to be with you. Deep inside, I hope you feel it too. Feel it too. Waited on a line of waited on a line just to be the next to be with you.
Guys are Paul's three favorite bands. Yep, Chicago and the Police.
The pants are too tight. I can get it about to there. These guys can attest.
Watch, don't edit it out and just stab that part. My pants are too tight and I can get it about to there. Give peace a cheese.
I just walk like that. Hey, how you doing? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Paul Gilbert. Yo, he's right there.
I left the floss in my car.
Some people, when they write letters, they're kind of consumed by the enthusiasm of the moment when they're writing, and they do quotes. And the guys make you smoke and you kick ass, but he couldn't figure out you guys smoke ass.
And we're the first to be.
It's expensive. There's an air shortage.
Roger Craig from the 49ers was saying, oh man, I feel so bad for you, but why'd you drop that ball?
Something I always do whenever I'm being filmed.
It's kind of a little ritual we do.
Woo! Help me! Help me, Lord. Get out of here! Get out!
She'll be back.